Hello and welcome back to the Clyde FC podcast, proudly sponsored by Tony Flynn Mortgages. We are back. This is not a relaunch, it's a reboot. We have had some time away. We are back and we're looking to give you just a slightly different type of content going forward and hopefully a wee bit more consistent. I am delighted to be joined by my trusty lieutenants, Craig Black and John Boyce. John and Craig, welcome, and it's good to see your faces again. And to our audio listeners, your voices.
It's good to be back after a little bit of time out, isn't it?
Aye, good to see you boys again, and let's talk Clyde.
Yes, let's talk Clyde indeed, John. You've taken my catchphrase away from me. I'm lost for words. Shocking state of affairs with less than a minute in.
Absolutely, it's all went to a shambles.
So it's been a while. Unfortunately, some things haven't changed on the park, and we are still searching for this elusive 3 points, this elusive win. The current situation is that the Bully we find ourselves sitting 9th in the League One table, followed by Peterhead on goal difference, albeit a very sizable goal difference. Gentlemen, who wants to take it first? Who wants to discuss the current situation that we're in? For our audio-only listeners, Craig Black has his head in his hands at the moment, which I think perfectly kind of sums up most Clyde fans' feelings at the moment.
Yeah, well, as Craig maybe recovers from that statement, I'll take a quick crack at it. So obviously, season started very well. Quick recap of 2022, how we started in August. Winning away at Queen of the South 4-1, one of the best away performances we've had in many a year. Enjoyed the day, as did you boys, and we thought, what a start we're off to. You know, young boys coming in, making a name for themselves, getting on the score sheet. And then that game against Peterhead, the second game, you think, are those points going to be important at the end? You maybe, it's a fleeting thought. Now it's very much, burned into the brain of every Clyde fan that those points might become very critical at the end of the season. We beat Kelty, and then who would have thought that, after that game, that would be our last 3 points that year and moving into February of 2023. So certainly one of the worst runs I've seen as a Clyde fan, but don't know how you sum that up, Paul.
How do you sum it up? I think statistically it is very much one of the worst runs. There's no obviously denying that. Facts are facts. Craig, what is your overarching feeling and opinion on where we're at the moment? We will address the challenges ahead, but let's look at the here and now. What's got us to this point?
Oh, well, you could say a whole lot of things. You could say a bit of bad luck, a bit of individual errors seem to be the mantra after every single week. It was an individual error cost us, an individual error, gifting goals left, right, centre more than I think at the time we said we're gifting goals like Santa Claus gives out presents. From the start that we had, as you said there, boys, we had the first 2 or 3 or 4 games and we looked amazing, and then it just seemed to flip really quickly and for a long time. But we just need to bin that and move on. We are second bottom and we need to try and stay second bottom because we're not going to get third bottom.
Yeah, that's very much now in the borderline miracle if we were to get to 8th. And that's just being realistic and quite frank and open. It would be one of the all-time sporting get-outs, in my opinion, if we were to pull this off and somehow just get 8th. Now, fine margins. Craig, you touched upon individual errors and stuff, and I've done some stats. I like digging out stats, and I'm sure I've thrown this at you many a times, just facing, but I'll put it out there to the wider audience. And the finer margins have been such a big deficit for us this season. John, I'll come to you, and for me, one of the biggest issues that we have is the goals that we concede late in games. So we've conceded a third of our overall goals conceded in the final 15 minutes of games. That is a quite remarkable stat. But not only that, it has actually cost us maybe not a significant amount of points, but points that certainly would have had us safer from 10th and a wee bit closer to those above us. So I think it's cost us 7 points in total, just those goals, which would have equated to 1 win and 4 draws. And instead, we had 1 draw and 4 losses.
Yeah, it's a good stat. I mean, going back to the start of the season, as Craig was talking about, it reminded me of something I'd thought of a few weeks ago. It's an eerily similar start to how Dumbarton started last year. If you remember, they were top of the league, and everyone was thinking, "Oh, this Dumbarton team, could go places." They end up getting relegated. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen to us. I hope it doesn't. But I think what we saw at the start of the season was us starting off very well, and then the other teams, match day 4, match day 5, getting into their stride, and we just never really kicked on from those starts. The stat of conceding goals late on in games, I've said it to you both all season. The mindset isn't there for me. I don't think there's as many leaders as we've maybe had in the past. Certainly, maybe in the dressing room. I know the promotion season, the dressing room was one of the best we've all seen, and I just, in my opinion, don't get that feeling from this group of players. And obviously we've had the manager change as well, which I think had to happen for me. You can't go on that kind of run without trying to make a change and try to do things. And I'm sure we'll go on to talk about the signings that we've made. Some very positive ones. Some players leaving us as well, unfortunately. But yeah, we really need to be getting better at not only scoring first, but also having that mindset of closing games off. Because we used to be very good at that. And, between September and maybe last month, or since Jim Duffy's came in, as soon as an opposition player scores first, you just don't think you're going to get back into it. And I worry that the fans think that, and then I also worry that, well, I know the fans think that, but I also worry that the players think that as well. And it's all about mindset. And naming one of the new boys coming in, Ryan McGeever, today, I think he'll be a big dressing room player as well as hopefully on the pitch. But club captain coming in from Dumbarton, there's got to be a move there for a boy in the background that can lead them from the dressing room. And Jim Duffy obviously knows him, so I'm hoping that'll make a difference as well as the physical on the pitch. But yeah, that would be my summary. Just mindset.
Craig, that mindset issue that John highlights, you get a very unique aspect of the games. You're quite close to the players, obviously, with being the kind of official club photographer. In a physical sense, and obviously you get to know them personally. Do you feel that this run has just chipped away at the confidence? There's no doubt about that. But I don't think in the vast majority of the signings that we made, we all thought, no, they're more than capable of playing at League One. So has it just been a snowball effect on their confidence, and momentum can be as good for you, as it is against you when it's going as horribly as it has for us?
I think everything that you both said there is completely bang on. I think they got to a point where they were frightened to make a mistake anymore in case they lost the first goal, and we all had the feeling, all of us fans had the feeling, if we lost the first goal, we were already beat. Whereas last season before, that was never the case. There was times we lost a goal in the first half 2-3 seasons ago, and we'd always say, it's all right, we're always better in the second half. You couldn't see that for a good number of weeks. You just didn't. It was, to me, they looked timid. I think players like Ali Love that left or didn't get re-signed on, not that he would have been a 90-minute man for us this season by any manner of means, but he's a character. He's one of those guys that would keep vocal all the time. And as you say, the leaders on the pitch that we all expected to be, I don't hear it, or I've not been hearing it. We did on Saturday. definitely did on Saturday. The other thing, I think, as much as the relocation to Hamilton's been great, there's a definite difference when you're pitch side. I don't know if you guys see it, especially you boys, when you're up doing the commentary, but with that 10, 15, 20 metre drop, and then you're another 20 metres before you're at the pitch, you've got quite a big disjoint between what used to be there between the fans and the players. So whether they're getting that feeling and that passion that we've got coming across onto the pitch as much, and whether that's giving them that extra drive that we used to see. We used to always say the fans gets through that last 10, 15 minutes and during difficult spells. I don't know if that's as prevalent at Hamilton Accies ground for us, but I'm not saying that's an excuse, because at the end of the day we've not been good enough over the course of the season so far, and we are where we are. Leagues don't lie, but I saw I felt a lot more fight and a lot more spirit and a lot as if they were fighting for each other on Saturday that I didn't think has been there for the last maybe 10 weeks.
Yeah, so that probably then leads us quite nicely on. Then we'll look at the last two games in particular, and what was probably quite almost Jekyll and Hyde from week to week. We'll start with what was the match that saw us drop to the foot of the table, something that I think we feared was all coming. Our record at Balmoor is terrible at the best of times, but going up there when we haven't won, they're needing a win, you just kind of felt it was coming, Boise.
Yeah, I wasn't looking forward to the game last week, and it turned out to be, Sixth Sense. Not a good record at Balmoor. It's that old Clyde analogy: if a team needs to win, they come up against us, and it always seems to go that way. I didn't make it up, Paul. As I've said to you offline, the medal is in the post for you. Going up with Lynn, absolutely fair play, and fair play to anyone else that made the trip. I think Craig's point, if I could touch briefly upon that, of Hamilton having that big drop, I think that maybe doesn't translate as well as you've said, Craig. But I think the fans, even in this run, even on Saturday, they were still getting behind the team 100%.
Oh yeah, definitely
singing their songs. So that's always there's always life in us from the stands, even if we are getting maybe cuffed 4-0 or something. But hopefully not on Saturday. But yeah, Peterhead, 1-goal loss again. Looking at the highlights, it's another set piece. It's another Stramash in the box. It's a cheeky back heel, which I would love for us to score, but unfortunately not this time. Frustrating all round, I think, especially as it's a big game, but we've got a chance to rectify that in a couple of weeks as we play them at home.
Yeah, the match itself wasn't a great spectacle. I don't think many people from whether you were home or away stand were expecting an El Clasico style football fest. It was quite not ironic, but we left and the weather was good. The forecast was great. We drove up past Aberdeen. The weather was gorgeous. Parked outside the stadium. I opened my car door and it nearly got ripped off its hinges with the wind. And at that point I went, here we go. I've seen this story before. The match itself was, dare I say, ruined by the weather. Neither team seemed to play with the conditions particularly well. We had the wind in the first half and it did allow us a lot of territory. Did we do enough with it? No. I think the closest we came was a couple of long-ranged efforts. Jordan Allen, who played his last game for Clyde, that day did have a pretty glorious chance when put 1-on-1. Just, I don't know if it was a poor touch. It was hard to see from the angle. Just didn't really get his body open enough to get a clean shot away. And then the second half, it was all just Peterhead. They pinned us in and, dare I say it, 1-0. It was more than a fair result in the end, sadly. Craig, therefore, after Peterhead, you're playing the clear league leaders, Dunfermline, a team that had lost once all season. We were down foot of the table. They're coming down. So after 3 minutes, Clyde are obviously 1-0 up, and you must be pinching yourself.
It was ridiculous. I mean, it was just you're going there really, as you say, David and Goliath stuff for us. The way the season's panned out, the way the table showed, and the way their form's been, and the way our form's been. So to go 1-0 up, you just in 3-4 minutes, you're just wanting it to be full time in 5 minutes and be done. Just call it.
Shouting, where's the ref getting the time from?
But no, we lost the goal just before half time. But they what a difference! I certainly thought it was a massive difference. I think the fans did as well. They get applauded off at the end of the game, which we've not seen for a number of weeks either. And that's a telling fact that the effort was there, the fight was there.
Yeah, there was just so much, effort went in from every individual player, and I don't want to say that players are not trying. Obviously, the effort levels go in, but I think that was the biggest, shift that team's put in all season, or close to it. To a man, pressing them. I do think that the two up top is better suited to our playing staff that we have just now. Obviously, Jordan was doing that all himself, but League One this year, a lot of full-time teams, a lot of really good teams, they're going to try and play it out from the back. You want to have two players that are going to press the ball to make it more balanced, and then that allows your midfield to come into it more. And that worked for us on Saturday. The early goal, it's a typical bottom of the table goal. It's a stramash, and you're signing Martin Rennie's there to put it in. Did I think that we would hold out? No. The defence still needs work, in my opinion. Hopefully we can get that better throughout the season, and the confidence will be there if we go 1-up in the 4th minute that we could maybe hold on to it. But yeah, it was a much improved performance, and no taking away from the left back. It was a fantastic strike for Dunfermline and a good solo goal. So
yeah.
And we held out for the second half. So on to Airdrie next week.
I felt there was a lot of. It was almost as if they were playing packs. They seemed to be supporting each other in the close quarters. You had Ross Lyon, I thought, done a really good job as centre defensive midfield. I thought Salkeld was great, and the two of them seemed to work really, really well. Same as you're saying with the two up front, seemed to work really well. It was almost as if they had somebody with them this time rather than they were out there on their own, frightened to make a mistake. And I think that pulled everything together a lot better, and they seemed to keep their shape better.
Well, going to touch upon kind of reasons to be hopeful in the January dealings that you kind of briefly touched upon there, John. What did you make of the impact of Martin Rennie and Mark Docherty? You mentioned obviously that Cameron Salkeld had a great game, and he did. But personally, I also thought Martin Rennie was fantastic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Martin Rennie is always one that's kind of caught the eye at Montrose. He's an intelligent footballer. I think he's that creative kind of spark that we've needed. And, along that front line of him, Cunningham and Docherty, I think we've got, a good front three. Docherty just works his socks off, doesn't he? He's always running, our new number 9. But no, I think the signings have been good. As you mentioned, Salkeld flies himself into tackles. I think that's something, it might sound silly, but I think that's something our games have missed, because in the usual games, it'll just go from end to end, nothing much happening. Maybe we get a chance, maybe we don't. But if somebody, puts themselves into a challenge, it doesn't only get the fans up, it, gives the players a wee dunt as well, and lifts them rather than just passing it through, as if, we need to show here as well. So, yeah, I like a player like Cameron Salkeld, but we're still to see our new right back as well, who got sent off at Falkirk. So it'll be good to see him play, get his home debut. But no, I think the signings have been good, and I look forward to seeing McGeever and maybe potentially a few loans. I believe we've got up until February, so we'll see if the gaffer puts anything in.
So yeah, we do have, I think, 2 loan slots remaining. So is it 2? Yes, because John Craig and Ryan McGeever, both on loan. So I think you can afford domestic loans. So there's still that possibility. And obviously any out of contract players could still technically be signed up to the end of February too. So there have been 5 in total new signings this window. We'll touch upon today's news. Ryan McGeever, Craig. First of all, are you happy that Ryan's a Clyde player?
I'm absolutely delighted. I always thought that he just looks a big unit. You know, he's the type of centre half.
In a nice way, of course.
In a good positive physicality way.
A good unit.
But not an IKEA unit.
Well, that is a good unit.
But no, I always liked him at Dumbarton against us. I thought he kind of put himself about, and he's one of those old-fashioned no-nonsense. When the ball's there, he'll punt it and clear it. If it's up in the air, he'll header it, and he'll shout for it, and he'll muscle, and he'll annoy. And I think he's got a personality as well. I spoke to you guys during the week about it, that during the COVID games, he was shouting out to me at the side of the pitch, having a bit of a laugh and things. So I think that's the kind of character that we've just not had for all season, really. So I'm delighted that they got him. Disappointed Peter Grant's went the other way, which is a shame because I think he was actually starting to get comfortable. But delighted McGeever's on board. Yeah.
John, how about yourself?
Yeah, no, just echoing what Craig said. I think he's a good unit. He can win the aerial headers. He's always been good against us. So now he's turning out in the white, black, and red. I think that he's not played too much football. Looking at his record, I think he's played 38 league and cup games since 2019. He's still only 28, but he has had his injury worries. So I think looking online today, it's more just a deal for him to get some game time. That's why I'm kind of thinking, if he's maybe not playing the first few games, he's going to be that character that we need to help the boys out. But the thought of him and Sula at the back strikes fear into me. Never mind opposition defences. So I think that will be good to see once we do get him. But yeah, Peter Grant going the other way, that's what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, Craig, you had a wee message today from Ray Grant. For those, I'm sure you're more than aware that Ray is out for the rest of the season with an ACL injury. Can you just give the fans a wee update on what Ray was saying?
Yeah, I messaged him to see how he had an operation last night. He got out the hospital this afternoon, still a bit sore, but he's already started doing the exercises that he's been given, and he's determined to get back as quick and as fit as he possibly can. So a big shout out to Ray. All the best, pal. Hope you're well on the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everyone here and all at Clyde and the Clyde fans were wishing Ray the speediest of recoveries and fullest of recoveries too. It's a terrible, terrible injury. Right, let's look ahead. The challenges ahead, gentlemen, and there are plenty.
How long have we got?
Hopefully only 5 minutes. Let's just look. The first challenge, and we've got to take it one game at a time. There's that cliche that we love. And we'll look at Airdrie in isolation. So the last time we came up against Airdrie, both teams were on pretty poor form. They lost, I think, 5 in the bounce. They were fragile, but unfortunately they came to us and we were just slightly more fragile. They narrowly defeated us with one of those earlier mentioned late goals. They are on slightly better form this time and probably quite concerning for ourselves. They did run riot last week at home to Alaba 4-0. John, if that was a reminder, if ever we needed it, Saturday is a huge challenge for the boys. Yeah,
no, absolutely. Airdrie absolutely do us over every time they seem to play us. We've not beaten them since 2019. Last 3 times we played them, they've won all 3 of them. Our last draw was the end of last season, I believe. 1 each. But yeah, we know what to expect with Airdrie. They're a hard-working team. Callum Gallagher is on form. He netted in their 4-0 win against Alloa, as you say. And Alloa were in pretty good form as well. They're turning it around this season. So it'll be a difficult one. But
So
we have
you're
just
telling me
taken
there's a
points.
chance.
Well, you interrupted me there. We have just taken points off the league leaders. So if we continue that press and, the hard work rate, put a shift in, we'll see what we can get. But I'd be delighted with a point and a Peterhead drubbing.
Craig, same for yourself then. Is it don't lose on Saturday and it's a positive result ahead of the fixture with Peterhead? Or is it just we have to go for victories all in here?
I don't think there's any fear left. I don't think there's any point in us being afraid to go there and just try and get a point, because that's not going to matter. It's about how we perform in the next game after that against Peterhead. That's a massive one for us. I think we can go there and do something after seeing Saturday, and I'm not going to go out here all hope and all misplaced optimism, but after seeing Saturday, I think we can do something. I think it's a different mentality. The guys that have come in have shown a different spirit, a different physicality, and just a different strength. I think we look at a physically stronger side. And as you said, these guys are coming in on the back of not a lot of game time. So I think the next three matches time, they'll be even better. So I'm actually thinking this could be the game we get that win.
Right.
Oh, I like it, sir. I like it.
Hear it here.
I'm not going to ask you for predictions because they're ever blowing in our face up, even when we were more prone to victories. So we'll leave it at that, gents. I'm not going to press you. So I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. I think it's been good to get back. It's been good to have a 30-minute therapy session with friends. And to our wider audience, we really do appreciate your continued support, and we appreciate you waiting so long for us putting out some more content. We will try our best to make sure it's a bit more frequent now going forward. You will be able to watch this on YouTube, and you will also be able to download all the audio files through the main podcast providers and some of the smaller ones too. I think that's it, guys. We'll wrap it up there. We'll be back next week. We'll discuss Airdrie and we'll look ahead to the next 6-pointer against Peterhead.
Craig, the basement battle.
Yes. Craig, John, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for listening and watching, everyone. And until next time, come on the Bully Wee.
I'm Clyde.
I'm Clyde.